The night my father told me to get out of his house, I thought I had lost everything. No warning, no explanation, just one sentence that changed my life forever. You're not my responsibility anymore. Pack your things and leave. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. But what he didn't know was that the truth he was hiding would come out on its own. And when it didn't just break him, it destroyed everything he thought he had built.
My name is Alex. I'm 22, and until a year ago, I lived in the same house I grew up in, just outside Dallas, Texas. It wasn't a big house, but it was home, the kind of place where every corner had a memory. My mom used to decorate the living room with these small handmade things, and even after she passed away when I was 14, my dad never had the heart to remove them. At least, that's what I used to believe. After my mom died, it was just me and my dad. At first, he tried. He really did. He showed up to my school events, helped me with homework, even learned how to cook some of my mom's recipes. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like we were surviving together. But things changed when I turned 18, slowly, quietly, like something shifting beneath the surface. He started staying out late. He stopped asking about my day. Conversations became shorter, colder. Then came the arguments. At first, they were small. Why aren't you doing more with your life? You're wasting time. You're not a kid anymore. I thought it was normal. Parents push their kids. That's what they do. But this felt different. It wasn't concern. It was frustration, like he was looking at me and seeing a problem instead of his son. Then, about 6 months ago, everything changed again. He started dating someone. Her name was Linda. She was polite, at least on the surface, always smiling, always saying the right things, but there was something about her that didn't sit right with me. I couldn't explain it. Maybe it was the way she looked at the house, not like a home, but like something she was evaluating, or how quickly she got involved in everything. Finances, bills, even decisions about repairs. It felt too fast. But my dad? He was different around her. Happier, sure, but also distant from me. Like I was slowly being replaced in my own home. Still, I kept my head down. I worked part-time, saved what I could, and tried not to create problems. Because deep down, I believed something simple. No matter what happened, this was still my home, and he was still my father. I just didn't realize how quickly both of those things were about to disappear.
It started on a Friday evening. I came home a little later than usual after my shift at a local warehouse. My legs were sore, my mind tired, and I just wanted to eat something and sleep. But when I opened the front door, something felt off. The house was too quiet. No TV noise, no kitchen sounds, nothing. Then I heard voices coming from the living room. My dad and Linda. But there was another voice too, calm, formal. I walked closer without announcing myself, and that's when I saw it. A man in a suit sitting at our dining table, spreading papers across it, legal documents. My stomach dropped instantly. My dad was standing with his arms crossed. Linda was sitting beside him, looking unusually calm. The lawyer started speaking again, but I couldn't focus. All I could hear was my heartbeat in my ears. My dad continued, calmer now. You'll need to move out by the end of the month. Silence. I just stood there, trying to process what I had heard. Not angry yet, just confused. Because nothing about this felt like a normal decision between a father and son. It felt planned, and somewhere deep inside me, I started realizing something was very wrong. After that night, I didn't sleep properly. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't understand how everything changed so fast. For 22 years, this was my home, and suddenly, I had a deadline to leave it. The next few days felt strange, like I was already a guest in my own house. My dad stopped talking to me unless it was necessary. No normal conversations, no small talk, just short instruction. Don't leave dishes in the sink. Start packing what you need. Utilities will be adjusted soon. That was it. Linda, on the other hand, acted like nothing had changed. She still cooked dinner sometimes, still smiled at me in that calm, controlled way. But now it felt different, calculated. One evening, I overheard them talking in the kitchen again. I was about to walk in, but I stopped when I heard my name. She's adjusting better than expected, Linda said softly. She's not causing problems yet, my dad replied. She'll leave when she realizes there's no choice. She already knows. We just need to make sure she doesn't have any leverage left.
I froze behind the wall. Leverage? What did that even mean? That night, I checked something I normally never cared about. Mail. There were envelopes I had never seen before, bank notices, property-related documents, and one thing that made my stomach tighten. My name wasn't on anything. Not the house, not utilities, not even basic records I assumed I was part of. I started noticing more things after that. How Linda always asked indirect questions. What are your plans after you move out? Do you have savings? Do you have anyone you can stay with? It didn't feel like concern. It felt like information gathering, like she was building a full picture of me. And slowly, I realized something even worse. This wasn't just about kicking me out. This was about removing me completely from any connection to my father's life. One night, I confronted him. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. He didn't even look up from his phone. "You're overthinking it." "That's not an answer." Finally, he sighed. "I'm trying to build a stable life, Alex. You're holding me back." That sentence stayed with me because it didn't sound like anger. It sounded rehearsed, and for the first time, I started wondering if my father was really the one making these decisions at all.
The turning point came without warning. It was a Sunday morning. I was packing some of my things into boxes, mostly clothes, a few books, and whatever I could carry if I had to leave early. The house felt colder now, not physically, but emotionally, like I didn't belong in it anymore. My dad and Linda were in the kitchen. I could hear them talking quietly, like always. I had learned to ignore it by now. But then I heard something different. My dad's voice, tense. "This isn't what we agreed on." There was a pause. Then Linda replied, calm as ever. "It is. You just didn't understand the full picture at the time." Something in me stopped. I stepped closer to the kitchen door without making a sound. My dad continued, lower now. "You said it would just be temporary. You said Alex would still be taken care of." Linda let out a small sigh. "She will be, just not here." Silence. Then my dad said something that made my blood run cold. "What did you do with the account?" Account. That word hit me like a shock. I leaned closer, heart racing. Linda didn't answer immediately. Then she finally said, almost casually, "It's already secured. It's better this way. You'll understand later." My dad's voice rose slightly. "You went behind my back?" "No," she said softly. "I protected you from making emotional decisions." That sentence, protected you. It didn't sound like protection. It sounded like control. And then I heard footsteps. Linda was coming toward the door. I quickly stepped back and pretended I was just walking through the hallway. She opened the kitchen door and saw me. For a split second, something changed in her expression. Not surprise, not fear, just calculation. Then she smiled. "Ale, you're up early." I forced myself to stay calm. "Yeah," I said, "just packing." She nodded slowly. "Good. It's important to be prepared." And then she walked past me like nothing had happened. But I knew something had changed, because now I wasn't just being pushed out. Now there was something happening behind my back, something involving money, accounts, and decisions I was never told about. That night, I did something I should have done a long time ago. I checked everything I could access, and what I found made everything else look like just the beginning. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was scared, but because everything finally started connecting. The house, the decisions, the accounts, the way Linda spoke like she already owned the outcome of my life. It wasn't random anymore. It was organized, and I was the only one who didn't have the full picture. So I stopped reacting and started thinking. The next morning, I acted completely normal. I ate breakfast like nothing was wrong. I answered short questions. I nodded when my dad told me again that I should speed up my moving process. Even Linda noticed. "You seem calmer today," she said while pouring coffee. I smiled slightly. "Yeah, I guess I'm just accepting things." That was the first step, because people like Linda don't expect acceptance. They expect resistance. And resistance is loud, but acceptance makes you invisible. After that, I started doing something simple. I observed everything. I noticed when Linda left the house. I noticed when my dad was most distracted. I noticed which documents were moved and when. I stopped asking questions and started collecting patterns. Small things first. Emails I could access. Old paperwork left on tables. Phone conversations I overheard but never reacted to. Then something important happened. One afternoon, Linda's laptop was open in the living room. She stepped away for just a few minutes. I didn't touch anything obvious. I didn't log into anything dramatic. I just looked at what was already visible, and there it was. A chain of forwarded emails between her and someone I had never seen before. A legal contact. Not from our family lawyer, a private one. My chest tightened, because the tone of those emails wasn't helping a family. It was coordinating, planning, and confirming steps. That was the moment I understood something clearly. This wasn't just about pushing me out. It was about controlling what was left behind after I was gone. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. I wasn't going to argue. Not at all. Instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I let them continue. I stayed calm. I stayed predictable. I stayed exactly where they thought I was, a son who was accepting his fate, because the best way to see someone's full plan is to make them believe they're already winning. And for the first time since all this started, I wasn't the one being moved. I was the one watching the board. The day everything collapsed started like any other day, quiet, ordinary, almost boring. I woke up early, helped myself to breakfast, and even said good morning to Linda like nothing had changed. She smiled back at me the same way she always did, calm, confident, in control. My dad barely spoke. He just reminded me again that I should finalize my moving plans. I nodded. Yeah, I'm almost done. Linda looked satisfied. Good. That's responsible of you. That was the mistake, because she still believed I was reacting to her plan. She didn't realize I had already stepped outside of it. Around noon, my dad received a phone call. I saw his expression change instantly. Confusion first, then tension, then something closer to disbelief. He walked into the living room holding the phone slightly away from his ear. "What do you mean it's been flagged?" he said. "No, that doesn't make sense." Linda immediately stood up. "What happened?" My dad didn't answer her right away. He just kept listening. His face slowly went pale. When the call ended, the silence in the room felt heavy. "What is it?" Linda asked again, sharper this time. My dad looked at her, then at me, and finally said something that changed everything. "The account, it's under review." Linda blinked. "That's impossible." But I stayed quiet, because I already knew what was coming. She turned toward me slowly. "What did you do?" I met her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't calm. She was unsure, and that's exactly what I had been waiting for. "I didn't do anything," I said. A pause. Then I added, "But someone finally looked closer." My dad stepped forward. "Explain." I shook my head slightly. I didn't need to. And that was true, because I never fought her directly. I never stopped her plans. I never argued. I just let the system she trusted do its job. The same system she thought she could quietly manipulate started asking questions she couldn't answer. Documents were requested. Signatures were verified. Timelines were checked. And the more it was examined, the more cracks appeared. Linda tried to speak, but for the first time, her voice wasn't steady. "This is a misunderstanding," she said quickly. "I was only trying to help organize." But my dad interrupted her. "Why are there emails to a private legal consultant we never approved?" Silence. That was the moment. The first real crack. Linda looked at him, then at me again, and she realized something I think she had never experienced before. She wasn't in control anymore. Not of the house, not of the situation, not of the outcome, because what she built quietly was now being taken apart just as quietly, and I didn't have to raise my voice once.
By the end of the day, things moved fast. Questions turned into formal inquiries. Access started getting restricted. Names started getting reviewed. And Linda, for the first time, stopped talking like she already owned everything. She just stood there, watching, like someone realizing too late that the ground beneath them was never stable. And I finally understood something clearly. Silent revenge doesn't look like destruction. It looks like truth arriving on time. It's been a few weeks since everything happened. The house doesn't feel the same anymore. Not because it changed physically, but because the energy is gone.
Linda is no longer here. She left quietly, the same way everything in her plan was built. No drama, no loud exit, just disappearance once things stopped going her way. My dad and we don't talk much. Not like before, not like when I was a kid. But something has shifted. He looks different now. Not angry, not confident, just tired. One evening, he sat across from me at the kitchen table and said something I didn't expect. I thought I was making the right decisions. I didn't respond immediately because I didn't know what to say. Then he added quietly, I didn't see what was happening. That hit harder than anything else because in the end, this wasn't about shouting or fighting or revenge in the way people imagine it.
There was no big explosion, no dramatic confrontation that fixed everything, just time and truth. I learned something from all of this. Sometimes the people who try to control everything don't realize they're slowly building their own downfall. And sometimes you don't need to destroy anything, you just need to step back and let reality do the rest. Because silence, when used right, is louder than anything else.